So in that last video, we spoke about why we use portals. Now let's try to create a new modal element with portals. So we're going to build this as a reusable component, and we can show any content that we want to show inside of it. So let me just get to it. So I'm going to flip back over to my code editor. And inside of my components directory, I'm going to make a new file called modal.js. And then inside of here, we're going to put together a functional component. So I'll say import React from React, then I'll say import React DOM from React-DOM. Now notice here we're importing React DOM inside of here, which we normally don't do. You probably remember that we usually import it in the index.js file. So after that's complete, I'll define my functional component. So I'm going to say const modal and open up the curly braces. Then I will put in here my props object. Okay, so then let's just quickly export it at the bottom because sometimes I forget to put it here. Export default modal, like so. Okay, so now at this point, we were always returning some JSX from our components, right? But this time, when we create a portal, the return value of our component is going to change just a little bit. So we're going to return React DOM.create portal. Now this function is going to take two separate arguments. First argument is going to be JSX. That's what we want to show on the screen. So I'm going to put it as the first argument, div, with a class name of UI dimmer show modals visible active. So this class name is coming from Semantic UI library. So then these are all the class names that are required to get a modal to display on the screen. Okay, so then inside that div, I'm going to place another div with the class name UI raised very padded text container segment. And then inside of that, I will say I am a modal, okay, inside the H1 tag. All right, so this is going to get that modal to show up. So now we need to make sure that these two divs right here are rendered directly on our body element as opposed to being deeply nested underneath the other page or something like that somewhere else. So in order to do that, we are going to attach that modal to the body element, and we're going to provide a second argument to create portal. So now I'm going to put a comma right here. And then as a second argument, I'm going to provide a reference to the element that I want to render this portal into. So I'll show you what we do. We're going to go into our index.html file, and we'll create a new div with some ID, and then we will target that div to place in our modal. So inside the index.html file, I'll place a div with an ID of modal, like so. Okay, so now we're going to provide a reference to this div to our create portal function. All right, so now let's save all this and go back over to our modal.js file. So I'll provide a selector for that div by saying document.query selector pound modal, like so. Boom. That's the React portal. So now, anytime that we render our modal component on the screen, rather than showing up as a direct child of the parent component, we will render it into the div with an ID of modal. Now, the last thing that we're going to do is show this component on the screen. So I'm going to just open up my contact component. And I'm going to import modal from up one directory modal. I'm going to place my modal component like so. Okay, so now anytime that we show the contact page, we're going to render our modal. So now we can save this and just flip back over to the browser and see how it works. So I'm going to go to localhost 3000/contact because we import our modal from there. And you can either write the URL here, or you just might be able to click on this contact button, and that will navigate us up to the contact page as well. I'm going to click on it, see if it works. All right, that's great. And now our modal appears on the screen successfully. Excellent. So the modal is definitely working as expected. And that's how to put a modal component together. So my friends, this has been quite a journey. There's been a lot of learning going on, and I think this has been a huge success if you've made it this far and you've been able to follow along. And hey, you know what? You can always review stuff. And in fact, if you have any issues at all in this course, please share them with us. Thank you so much for participating, for engaging, and for seeing it through. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.